Okay, y'all, we're going to be doing a way too early 2026-27 Big Ten Conference rankings. I put together as much detail as I could on who's transferring where, in and out of the Big Ten, and obviously we're focusing on players that are coming in. We're going to use Ken Palm like we always use, and we're going to just rank our teams, all 18 teams in the conference, starting from the top here. Who is our number one team for the Big Ten going into next season? We have Illinois. Illinois, just coming off of a Final Four, this team is still going to be very, very elite offensively. But the thing is, I think they're going to be even better defensively because they have three players who logged 28 plus minutes in the Final Four against UConn, plus starter Jake Davis, all returning. They've also added a key piece to help fill in for the loss of Keaton Wagler to the NBA. And yeah, let's just start with their returning players. Like we said, Jake Davis and the Ivisic twins are both returning, and also David Mrkovic. So this team is going to be so just solidly defensively. Again, they're the 20th KenPom ranked defense and the second KenPom offense. So yeah, this team is very likely could be top 10 both ways next year. And they probably are the title favorites to win it all, at least, one of them. Um, the thing is, they also went out and added Stefan Vox from Providence, and he was a freshman last year. Um, and he put up 15 points a game as a freshman for Providence. Providence was actually a lot better offensively than defensively, so that is encouraging. They were 32nd in terms of KenPom offense, 170th in terms of KenPom defense. So, Vox is a proven player, even just as a freshman. So this is a huge piece for Illinois to be adding. This team is very, very complete, and they're the clear favorites in the Big Ten. I don't think any other team that we're going to be covering here is going to be able to be the favorites over them from what it looks like right now. So yeah, first team we have here is Illinois. Second team we have is a bit of a surprise. It's Indiana. But the thing is, Indiana went out and added key pieces to their front court, proven players in Aiden Sherrill and Samit Ugutolu, proven big men and March winners. Um, let's just kind of start with Aiden Sherrill here. So Aiden Sherrill was a sophomore last year, put up 11 points a game for Alabama. Alabama was the third KenPom ranked offense, so double digits for them. Now coming to Indiana is huge. Samit Ugutolu, as well as 7'2" big man, putting up 10 and 8 rebounds a game, almost a double double every game for SMU. SMU was in the tournament as well, so two proven pieces that Indiana has. And also on top of that, they went ahead and added Marcus Burton. Marcus Burton was injured last year, and he is coming in from Notre Dame. This guy was averaging pretty much 20 plus points a game. The year before, he was shooting 37% from three as well. So there was a drop off last season, but he only played 10 games, of course, because of injury. This is a huge backcourt piece for Indiana. Just a proven scorer in Marcus Burton, going into his senior year as well. And also on top of that, they went ahead and added Bryce Lindsey. He's a Villanova transfer, and he helped the Wildcats compete near the top of the Big East, with the top 40 KenPom offense and defense. And yeah, so we do have Indiana as the number two team here in our rankings for Big Ten rankings. Again, ahead of Michigan and Michigan State. We're going to cover why. But yeah, Indiana reloads with experience, proven winners in March, scoring backcourt, right? Like they kind of just reloaded into a definitely a complete team here. And I do look for them to be a lot better than their 39th KenPom ranked offense here. That was last season, and 66th KenPom ranked defense. And yeah, Indiana's two. Going on to number three, we have Michigan. Obviously, Michigan had the most turnover, losing their head coach Dusty May to the NBA and three starters to the NBA lottery. This team was the national champion. They dominated everybody they played last year. A top five offense and the number one defense in the country. Um, they did go ahead and add elite front court defense in terms of JP Estrella and Mustafa Thiam. So we'll cover them right here. JP Estrella coming in from Tennessee, putting up 10 points, 5 boards a game. But again, defensively, this is huge for them, especially losing a Daymara, Yaxel Lindeborg, and being the number one defense. That's a lot. That's big, big shoes to fill. And Mustafa Thiam coming in from Cincinnati. Cincinnati was one of the best defensive teams last year. They weren't great offensively, but they were elite defensively. And yeah, he's coming in averaging almost 13 points a game, 7 rebounds, giving you a block and a half, a little bit more. But if we look at both of their schools, so like we'll start with Thiam. Cincinnati, can't even spell. Cincinnati was the 10th KenPom ranked defense last year, and Tennessee was, I believe they were in the top 15. Yeah, so yeah, they were 14th in terms of KenPom ranked defense. So Michigan does reload with an elite defensive front court, and also Elliot Cadeau is returning, so that's huge for their backcourt as well from their championship team. But again, losing Dusty May and 3 starters to the NBA lottery, it's just hard for me to see them dominate anywhere near what they were doing last year. But still, definitely going to be at the very top of the conference, competing in the Big Ten at the very top once again. Next team we have is Michigan State. This team was 13th in terms of KenPom ranked defense, 23rd offensively. So that is always the worry with Michigan State with the way we analyze them. They lost Carson Cooper and Jackson Kohler to the NBA, which is huge as well. These are two of their top scorers that they had last year, but they do return Jeremy Fears Jr. He led all of college basketball D1 in assists at 9.5 a game. Insane numbers. And they also returned third leading scorer Cohen Carr and Kerr Tang, who shot 38% from deep. So there's a lot of returning production, no doubt about it, for Michigan State. And yeah, like the huge jump from Jeremy Fears last year from his sophomore year was insane. Having him again is, going to be everything for Michigan State. And then also keeping Cohen Carr 12 points a game. He's so efficient, shooting 51% last year from the field. Year before, he was at 61%, 65% as a freshman, right? Like he's so efficient. But yeah, you do worry about the, 3-point shooting at 27%, free throw at 62, right? So again, same thing kind of as last season with Michigan State. The worry is just offensively, because the teams we have ahead of them are probably going to be elite offensively, no doubt, especially Illinois. So, to compete against teams like that, it's just hard for me to see them in the top two, right? So Michigan State, Michigan, 3, 4. Nebraska coming in at 5. This was the number 8 KenPom ranked defense last year, 47th offensively, which is worrisome, but they do return their leading scorer, Price Sanford, and third leading scorer, Braden Frazier. And this is everything for Nebraska, returning your leading scorer from last year, who averaged 18 points a game in their, a historic season for the program, right? This was maybe the surprise of the entire country and how good this team was. They won in March as well. Price Sanford shot 41% from three. Insane numbers, right? 18 points a game. This is going to be huge for Nebraska. And also, Braden Frazier is returning. He put up 11 points a game as a freshman. So, huge, huge pieces coming back for Nebraska, and definitely see them very competitive still in the Big Ten. Uh, yeah, we have them at 5. Next team we have is USC. The thing about USC is that their main guys were injured last year. Rodney Rice only played a handful of games, and he was putting up like 20 points a game. Let's pull up his numbers here. He was averaging exactly 20.3 points a game. He only played 6 games last year, unfortunately. Shot 38% from the field in a very limited sample size. But having him back, having Elijah Arenas, and they also went ahead and added Eric Reed from UConn. He played in all 40 games. He played 13 minutes a game. He didn't play a lot in March Madness, but he did play in every game. He was only a freshman as well, so this is a huge, huge piece to add for USC to, solidify that center position at 7-1. Again, he was only a freshman last year, so this team is pretty complete, no doubt, USC, but they were the 97th KenPom ranked offense last year, 63rd defensively, so, they're going to have to really, really climb here, and I do see them climbing big time. And, very competitive in the Big Ten from what it looks like. And yeah, this is going to be a really exciting team to watch, no doubt. Next team we have is Ohio State. Obviously, with the loss of Bruce Thornton to the NBA, he was, arguably the program's best player like ever. Losing him, but they went ahead and added a lot of veteran pieces. Justin Pippen, Josh Ojanwa. We know he played at Baylor for how many years, right? And then they also added a five-star freshman wing in Anthony Thompson. They also are returning John Mobley Jr., who was averaging 15.7 points per game as a sophomore, and Amari Bynum. Again, they were the 17th KenPom ranked offense last year, but the defense did worry me in terms of that 52 number. But a lot of returning production, even with the loss of Bruce Thornton to the NBA. And yeah, just veteran experience here. When you add Justin Pippen, Josh Ojanwa, and then returning guys that, average 15 plus points a game for you. Definitely look for Ohio State to be very competitive as well again here. Next team we have is Purdue. This is, I think, everyone's biggest question mark is Purdue because, when you lose Braden Smith, Fletcher Loyer, Trey Kaufman, Rand, these guys were the entire program pretty much over the last 4 or 5 years. When you lose them, it's going to be very hard to kind of gauge where this team is, but they did go ahead and add Caden Pierce, who is the 2024 Ivy League Player of the Year. Um, he took a year off for some reason. I don't know why, but at Purdue now. Again, this was the Ivy League Player of the Year a few seasons ago, averaging 16 points a game. And we know Princeton was a big part of March Madness over like 2 seasons ago, right? So a huge ad. But the thing about Purdue is, yeah, their guards, are very unknown. But Omer Mayer, CJ Cox, and Jakari Harris are all coming back. These guys are big guards. Like Omer Mayer is 6'4", 215. CJ Cox is 6'3", almost 200 pounds. And then Jakari Harris is also that size, over 200 pounds, 6'3". So they have big, big guards to fill in for a player like Braden Smith, obviously smaller, very, very talented. No, obviously Braden Smith, Braden Smith. But they are filling in his minutes with big guards, so this could bode well for their defense. And they also have um, Jacobson returning, Daniel Jacobson at that center position, a 7-footer. As we know, Purdue likes 7-footers in the paint. And yeah, this was the number one KenPom ranked offense last season. I don't know if they're gonna be near that next year, but defensively it could really improve, right? 36 was really bad for them. That is a big reason why, they bowed out to Arizona. Even though they had an elite offense and all that experience, their defense just wasn't there. And yeah, this team is the biggest unknown here. But it wouldn't be surprising to see them, be at the top again. They have a lot of talent and a lot of size on this team for sure. Iowa. Iowa, obviously they're losing Bennett Sturts to the NBA. They were 20th KenPom ranked offense, 33rd defensively, but they went ahead and added Tyreek Coleman, who's an Illinois State transfer. He averaged 10 points a game on 50% from the field and 41% from three as a freshman. So this is obviously a huge, huge ad. Obviously, going from Illinois State to Iowa is going to be, and Big Ten play is going to be very different. But, from what it looks like, this is a very, very talented potential, player here. But of course, big shoes to fill with Bennett Sturts leaving. With second-year head coach Ben McCollum, Iowa has a promising young guard in Coleman, and who could develop into, a star for Iowa, right? But again, it's big, big shoes to fill. So we do have them at 9, run in the middle of the pack here. UCLA. UCLA adds Jalen Petty, a Texas Tech transfer who averaged almost 10 points a game as a freshman. So he was playing big minutes at Texas Tech as a freshman. A lot of production, right? So look for that to definitely translate over to UCLA, Texas Tech, from Texas Tech, and then also Philip Jovic, and he's an Auburn transfer. He helped win the NIT for Auburn, and he shot 64% from the field. So these are big additions for UCLA, and also UCLA has something very, very, very rare that I haven't seen on like any of these other teams, which is a third-year returning player in Trent Perry. 12.6 points per game, shot 39 percent from three a season ago. Let's just see where his I guess right here. Trent Perry. So again, a third-year player returning is very, very rare, but a huge jump from his freshman year to sophomore year. So, he's going to really have to lead this team and look for his game to improve. He shot 39% from deep. So A lot of talent for UCLA, and they could easily be way higher. We have them at 10 here, but 26 KenPom offense last year, almost outside the top 50 though defensively, which is concerning. But yeah, UCLA, plenty of talent here. Definitely expect them to be in March Madness for sure. Yeah, losing also Tyler Bilodeau as well was a big loss, but yeah, really good team for UCLA from what it looks like. Wisconsin at 11. It's kind of wild that we have them at 11 because they're the 10th KenPom ranked offense last year, 56 defensively, but elite offensive team Wisconsin usually is. But they always, for some reason, bow out in March really early. Even though they have great players, great offense, right? And they're competitive in the Big Ten. Losing John Blackwell and Nick Boyd. But they went ahead and added Trey Autry, who averaged 11 points a game and 38% from three at George Washington, and Ian Elmer, who averaged 12.7 points per game on 43% from three pretty much at Miami of Ohio. So a lot of shooting that they're getting back, Wisconsin this year. So I do look for them to stay elite offensively. Um, and yeah, they're going to really rely on these two guards, for spacing, for shooting, scoring. But I definitely think that these guys are very talented and should, keep Wisconsin very, very competitive in the Big Ten and, into March Madness as well. It's going to be tough for them to be a top 10 KenPom offense again, but, we'll see. Next team we have at 12 is Maryland. It's kind of wild. Maryland had like one of the biggest drop-offs in college basketball, I'd say. Just a few years ago, they had Jacoby Gillespie, Derek Queen, and they were in March Madness. And, for them to drop outside the top 100 both ways in terms of offense and defense, 133rd and 125th, is a big drop-off. They look for fifth-year starter Pharrell Payne to lead the way. He averaged 17 and a half points per game and seven rebounds. And he did get injured and he has a medical fifth year coming back. So, he's gonna really have to lead the pack here for Maryland to, return into March potentially, but it's gonna be very, very tough, especially playing in the Big Ten. Next team we have is Washington. They added Lawan Watts, a Texas Tech transfer, a solid wing player. But they're gonna really have to rely on him to do a lot because their main returning guard, Wesley Yates III, did not shoot well at all last year. He shot 37% from the field and 31% from three. And he was playing 31 minutes a game. So, he's shooting 11 shots, 12 shots a game and shooting that poorly. But it's wild because the year before he had excellent numbers at USC, 43% from three, 47%, 48% from the field. So, something's got to give here. And it really depends on the play of Wesley Yates, I'd say, and transfer Lawan Watts. But if Wesley Yates can kind of return to that, first year, freshman year numbers that he had, Washington can definitely be a lot more competitive. But losing Hannes Steinbach, to the NBA lottery is obviously a huge loss for Washington. But we'll see. We'll see with this team. Going on to 14th in our ranking, we have Minnesota. Minnesota was outside the top 100 KenPom offense and outside the top 70 KenPom defense. They went ahead and added guys from big name schools, blue blood programs that didn't play a ton. In Kyan Evans at UNC transfer, and then Malik Cordell, who was a national champion, but obviously playing behind a Mara and Yaxel Lindenberg as a freshman is going to be tough to get minutes. He played 4 minutes a game only there. So it's just a big question mark for Minnesota. You can't really tell like where they're going to be because their main guys that they have coming in didn't play a lot in their previous programs. So yeah, we have them at 14 here. But the programs that these guys are coming from, we'll see, right? The programs are undeniable. So next team we have is Oregon. It is wild to see Oregon this low in our rankings, especially under head coach Dana Altman. We're like used to seeing him win games in March and surprise people. And like for Oregon to be struggling the last few seasons is, I think, the wildest thing in this entire conference. They lost Jackson Shelstad to Louisville. They went ahead and added Andrew Meadows from Boise State and Dwayne Airstode from Arizona, both from teams that finished in the top 75 KenPom offenses. And if we look at Andrew Meadow and his numbers, he had a really good year for Boise State. He's got the glasses. But yeah, he shot 51% from the field and 38.6% from three, putting up 12 points a game for a top 75 KenPom offense at Boise State. So definitely a lot of talent coming in with him, and he's probably gonna have to lead the pack though for this team. They also went ahead and added Dwayne Aristode, who was a freshman last year, playing 35 games, 13 minutes a game, and helped. He was a piece of Arizona, reaching their first Final Four in how long, right? So, again, only a freshman last year, didn't play a lot, but they're gonna have to really rely on these two guys specifically to lead the way for Oregon, and who knows, they can really climb here. 126th offensively, 87th defensively. Just not used to seeing Oregon play that poorly. Usually they're in March, right? So yeah, 15. Rutgers coming in at 16. They were the 155th KenPom offense, 120th defensively. So, a team that poor, it's hard to see them, really compete too much in the conference. They do return Tariq Francis, 70 point per game score. So he's going to have to very likely carry the heavy load again for this team. Um, yeah, next team we have is Northwestern. It is wild because Northwestern head coach Chris Collins has kept this program consistently in the top 100 KenPom rankings for nearly a decade. Only one exception the last 10 seasons. So excellent coaching. It's just, I don't know if this team has enough talent. They finished 60th in KenPom offense last year, 77 defensively, but they lose their leading scorer and one of the leading scorers in the nation in Nick Martinelli. Um, and yeah, it's just hard for me to see this team compete in the conference when, their leading scorer is not there anymore. And, they were bad even with him. So, yeah, Northwestern at the bottom of the pack here, just ahead of Penn State. Penn State, you see it right here, the 230th KenPom ranked defense. That's the biggest reason why we have them very last in our Big Ten way too early rankings and 93rd offensively. They did add Brant Byers from Miami of Ohio. He averaged 14 points a game and shot 39% from three. So, excellent numbers. And Miami of Ohio was the surprise team in the nation last year. So yeah, adding him, hopefully, he can help bring a lot of production, but it's just hard for me to see this team um anywhere near competitive in this conference because of their very, very poor defense. But, adding Brant Bears is a big add for sure. And yeah, that wraps it up for the Big Ten rankings. Again, Illinois is the clear favorite thanks to their number two KenPom offense. Even though they lost Keaton Walker, they went ahead and added Stephon Vox from Providence, a great, great scoring guard, a wing player. And they return so much continuity from their Final Four team. Illinois is just the number one team by far, in my opinion, in this conference, followed by teams like Indiana, Michigan, Michigan State, right, with their returning talent. And then Purdue is the ultimate wild card. Purdue is the team that, has a lot of size, front court, back court, but, they lost so much production, it's hard to kind of gauge where they're going to be. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's 11 bids going into March. But it's hard for me to see like teams like Maryland, Washington, Minnesota, teams like that make it into March Madness as of what it looks like right now. Kind of the cutoff at Wisconsin here. But yeah, if you guys like this video, give this channel a subscribe. Go to collegebasketball.info. You can find our way too early rankings on there. It's literally just collegebasketball.info. Leave a comment. We really appreciate the support. Again, the thumbs up for the video, and we're gonna keep doing more and more conference videos as the week goes on. So till next time, y'all. Peace.